I did this. And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this.
Shocking development. The federal government says being broke is allowed, but if you're broke and glowing, you are officially now a suspect.
You can't be glowing more than your financial status. Look your problem.
Producers have confirmed next season of Love Island will merge with the Hunger Games. Only one couple will survive the new format. Everyone else dies.
Senator Buck Nutley has unveiled his Big Girthy bill, a new proposal meant to rival the Big Beautiful bill. But does size really matter?
The shocking trend of Labubu violation continues as more and more people are finding their dolls' holes stretched wide open and reeking of shame.
If you thought Bigfoot was bad, wait till you meet his gooey cousin. A kumsquatch was just spotted in Dongwood National Forest.
Did you know IKEA has released a home glory hole kit called the Fuke Hole? It includes pre-drilled panels, mounting brackets, and a stain-proof finish. We begin with breaking news out of Massachusetts, where residents are reeling from what scientists are calling a cum-comet impact.
Officials are asking everyone to stay indoors and to wear N95 masks in case of cum aerolization.
President Trump kicking off another busy week at the White House.
It has been yet another eventful week in Washington.
The activity level is off the charts. The president dialed in. He is executing his agenda at a lightning fast pace. Here's something we rarely see in American politics. President Trump is actually keeping his campaign promises, and he's doing them as quickly as possible.
This administration's moving at political light speed, and they're just getting started.
We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do what I'm doing.
Goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Official, former President Donald Trump will be running for president again in 2024.
Donald Trump got the stamina and the will to do this again? He's come under such tremendous...
Everything is on the line in this election.
A busy day in the campaign world up in Butler today. Former President Trump holding a rally at 5 o'clock.
He just tried to kill President Trump.
Not even an assassin.
If we're not careful, AI could make it impossible to distinguish truth from fiction in the news we consume.
So, Keisha, what's a high-value man to you?
A man that gave me 10 kids, 3 evictions, $10 on Cash App, and still pull up in a Nissan Altima that sound like he got asthma.
Day one of trying to make it to work without yelling at a pedestrian. Pray for me, y'all.
Still alive, still unemployed. But baby, I look G-O-D doing it. Oh my God, I'm not even late, I'm just dramatic. Y'all know I will risk it all for a good melon.
We have breaking news. A laser-guided ship missile has just been launched from Rectomopolis, reportedly targeting Pennsylvania.
We're live from the scene where a laser-guided ship missile launched from Rectomopolis has struck Pennsylvania. This just in, a pubnadal blankets St. Louis in a thick bush this evening.
Downtown is completely covered in pubic hair, causing highways to close out of caution.
It's coming right for us. We need to get out of here now. Oh my God, it's taking the houses. A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of dong load. Locals blame the lack of preparation on Mayor Linda P. Slurp.
The city of Columbus is reeling today after an unprecedented event. What officials are calling a jizzard has left downtown streets. Customs officials at Orbital Port 69 have seized over 420 stolen Jork blades, many still warm and dripping. A magnitude 6.9 queefquake rattled Clamlip Valley this morning, releasing a torrent of pussy farts. The children's reading session of This Little Piggy Got Pegged has been cancelled, with parents saying the book is too anatomically detailed for kids.
Lawmakers remain deadlocked on the big beautiful bill, with some saying $10 billion more is needed for fleshlights and robo-cooters for dudes on dry spells.
Los Angeles, because she served her fried chicken instead of a quinoa salad.
Megan Mayonnaise went to the restaurant called The Last Supper, where she claimed she was flabbergasted that they would serve her fried chicken when she in fact ordered a quinoa salad. Ms. Mayonnaise said waitress shxxter Trinity knowingly gave her fried chicken, although Ms. Mayonnaise pleaded that she didn't want to eat any urban food. We have Ms. Mayonnaise along with her attorney, Roger Bangher. Can you explain how you were feeling, Ms. Mayonnaise?
I told shxxter Trinity 300 times, let me speak with your manager. And she just kept twerking, sticking her tongue out and laughing at me.
We have exclusive CCTV footage from the restaurant of Miss Mayonnaise and shxxter's fried chicken confrontation.
Miss Mayonnaise is suing shxxter Trinity for everything she got, which is 3 deadbeat fathers and $100 in unpaid child support.
We need your $80,000 down payment now.
Can I do 6 child support checks, 1 EBT card, 10 Section 8 credits, and 2 Medicaid payments?
We take it all.
Welcome back to White News Network. I'm your host, Kimberly Kumquat. Today, the BFI released documents that claim no special files exist from that one famous island. Wink, wink. BFI director said, quote unquote, although you've seen plenty of known people at that island, no American people, you were just seeing shit. The BFI office also released perfectly edited 24-hour surveillance footage of that jail cell where the main guy in charge was being held. At this point, these guys are playing in our face. Most of you are too blind to see it.
Welcome back, folks, to the White News Network. I'm your host, Tom Blandley, and tonight a white woman is leaving her husband after trying a YN. HOA President Skylar White told WNN she is filing for divorce because, quote unquote, after trying a YN, you never go back. Her husband, Kevin White, owner of Proud Boys Country Club, says he is devastated by the news and that it is, quote unquote, total malarkey. The divorce hearing is set for July 13th at Cornbread District Family Court. If Mrs. White wins, she will be entitled to half of his shit that she never worked for. Next up, rock star Roger Bangher has already impregnated 3 women on his Fuckfest tour. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Want to do some totally unnecessary shit like mountain jump with a fly suit on? Then head over to whitepeopleshit.com.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
Swim with sharks. It's a blast. Make memories that last.
Whitepeopleshit.com.
And then I did this. And then I did this. I did this. And then I did this.
No. Yo, what's up, y'all? Man, I had to go on late tonight, man. I had to wait for that Marcus John to be over. I ain't want to stream when he was on. It was a good stream. If you missed it, All right, man, let's get into it, man. Let's do some news. I seen a couple people in the chat. Oh, Quiet Storm, Kwame Kaiju up in the building. And Saul called me on the phone right before I came on. Kwame, actually, I got one of your stories for the joint. I think I'm going to do Scott Bessent on Labor Day goes to D.C. With this no tax on tips joint. But, let me turn on my, chat. All right, let's just do, let's start off with Lefties Losing It. Always one of my favorite segments. Let's see what we got up to date on Lefties Losing It.
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with the fascinating revelations about how much the Democrats are paying mindless, unprincipled influencers to post anti-Trump, pro-Democrat propaganda. Crap like this.
Mr. Trump is out here trying to delete the Department of Education, and teachers are getting cut left and right. Our classes are packed, and we have like zero funding.
Trump says America first and then guts the most American institutions we've got.
This is signaling preparations to possibly deploy the United States military against American citizens in Chicago.
Every Republican is currently in Congress voting to destroy the lives of millions of Americans.
So authentic, so much conviction from Lefties Losing It. Not really. According to a new report, a secretive dark money group tied to the Democratic Party is paying online influencers up to $8,000 a month to disseminate left-leaning talking points. Among those named is Olivia Juliana, the Gen Z activist who spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention.
Yeah, we covered this last night on a Sunday show. Y'all remember Big Fatty here who got hired to bring men back to the Democratic Party. Apparently she's been getting $8,000 a month. So like I said, a lot of them, a lot of that crazy Democratic talking point you be seeing on social media, and you're like, how is this even? Do these people have no common sense? Yeah, they have common sense. They're getting paid to, like I said, it's a propaganda campaign.
As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
And the Democrats thought she was just the influencer to bring young, disaffected men back into the Democrat camp.
I spent a lot of time on college campuses, and I spent a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys.
Yeah, that little campaign didn't work out so well, no matter how much she loves young men. Yep, the Democrats are so desperate to engineer support that they are paying influencers up to $8,000 a month to post lefty propaganda. They are trying to create the illusion of grassroots support, just like they tried to engineer fake news, Russian collusion hoaxes, and those weird polls right before the election that were all wrong in the same direction. And talking about polls, let's check in with CNN's polling expert on how well the Democrats are going. How are they going, Harry?
Bad, bad, bad. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness gracious. What are we talking about here in terms of big party registration?
Yeah, and that's bad when CNN's own internal polling has you doing bad, because CNN is the communist news network.
Changes in the key swing states. Let's look at the key 4 swing states that, in fact, do keep track of registration by party. Look, the Republican Party is in their best position at this point in the cycle since at least 2005. In all 4 of these key battleground states, we go out to the Southwest. Arizona. How about Nevada? Republicans haven't done this well since 2005. Oh, my goodness gracious, at this point in the cycle. North Carolina, I couldn't find a point at which Republicans were doing better at this point in the cycle. It's at least this century. It probably goes way back in the last century. And Pennsylvania, very similar. Republican.
Pennsylvania, we flipped it red this presidential election. Let's see, we try and keep it red for the midterms and for the next presidential election. These battleground key states, swing states, it's looking good so far. We just need the Democrats to keep eating themselves.
Is doing better at this point than at any point this century, at least as far as I could find.
Detroit 313, what up, Playboy? We just in here doing some news.
I should have given the lefties a trigger warning before that last clip. For the rest of you, perhaps a cold shower or a cigarette after hearing this.
When it comes to party registration, Republicans have made massive gains compared to 8 years ago. They are in their best position in these key 4 swing states. But at this point, as I said at the beginning, the Democratic brand is in about as good a position as the Cracker Barrel rebrand. It is bad, bad, bad for the Democrats.
Bad, bad, bad for the Democrats. And one of the reasons the Democrats are struggling is their soft on crime philosophy. They don't care about law and order. They don't believe in properly punishing offenders. They don't prioritise victims and law-abiding members of the community. Just listen to this lefty losing it at the DNC summer meeting last week, claimed that Americans don't care about violent crime. They're more worried about addressing mental health issues.
Issues voters care about. Where does Trump go? Migrant crime, carjackings, the really lurid, awful stuff that is a crazy, crazy visual. Don't take the bait, because most Americans are more worried about how are we going to address mental health issues, the visible homelessness that we see on streets, and how...
Most of the homelessness and whatnot is in these Democratic strongholds. See what he just did to D.C.? We need Gavin. Look at the homelessness of LA, Gavin Newsom. Let me see. Storm says, I'm shocked that Josh Shapiro has been very quiet this year. I guess that Trash Christ really put a skid mark on his record. And I heard that, they're still investigating this Butler situation. We'll see how Kash Patel and all that shit plays out. But I heard Shapiro's name's in there somewhere, him being aware of certain things. So there may be reasons why he's quiet. And bear in mind, some lefty in Pennsylvania burned down his mansion with his peoples in there. I think he was in the mansion when he climbed the gate and burned it down. So the lefties are imploding left and right.
We deal with mental health and other issues that drive the sort of random incidents that scare all of us. That's what you should be talking about. That's where you should be focused. Don't take the bait in talking about migrant crime or carjackings or the things that actually don't matter to that many Americans.
With the likes of her advising the Democrats, they'll be in the political wilderness for some time to come. And they're going so badly that the frontrunners to be the Democrat presidential candidate are awful. One of them is this woman.
And I ask you to remember.
Yo, I honestly think Kamala has gotten worse since the her presidential run. She's actually worse on camera and speaking now than she previously was.
Context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
She literally looks drunk all the time now.
Gosh, I miss that weirdo. She's still a front runner along with this next dude who has managed to cause untold damage in California. These days, Gavin Newsom pretends to be against the excesses of the trans cult, but it wasn't long ago when he was laughing at the notion of parents being sidelined as their kids are being transitioned.
Why should parents not know if their kids are transitioning at school?
It's a hell of a thing. You're talking about 1% of the population. Climate change, its impact 100% of the population wasn't even brought up. And we're talking about trans issues.
Here in California, this is an issue for you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to cover a section of this tea shooter in Minneapolis. Also, Democrats trying to back away from this because they was all pro tea. Gavin Newsom out there approving this puberty blockers over there in California. Storm said, I just need to get to this time next year and I'll be living out of a bag just like you, Machismo TV. Yeah, man. I had to just get up and go, make it happen. You'll probably actually be far more stable with your get up and go. But I tell you, there's nothing like it. All brothers should get their passports, man.
Big issue for parents. This is a front and center issue. It's the great. This is one of the greatest distractions. It's classic. 1% of the population in the United States. These kids just want to live. These kids just want to live. And we're having a debate about trans issues at the Reagan Library. It's not to be ashamed.
These kids just want to live. Oh, dear, Gavin. That video is all the Republicans need. They just have to play that on high rotation to ensure we never end up with President Newsom. God forbid. Joining me now is filmmaker and commentator Ami Horowitz. Ami, I started Lefties with news that a dark money group is paying pro-Dem influencers up to $8,000 a month, according to Wired magazine. The names included in this report are among the most recognisable lefty influencers online, Ami.
Yeah, look, dark money is being used by everyone. Let me give you a real brief history of campaign finance in America. So there's hard money, right, spending, which means you give specific money to specific candidates. It's highly regulated by the Federal Election Committee, the FEC, and there are caps to what you can give to people. That led to what we call soft money. Now, soft money pre-2002 was when you can give an unlimited amount of money to political parties, not particular political politicians, but parties for use in those campaigns. Now, that was banned in 2002. And in 2010, we have another form of soft money, which is super PACs, which we all know about, which exists today, unlimited amount of money to people, but it must be disclosed. Now, dark money, which you were referring to, is a slightly different animal, which is you can give money to not super PACs, but you can give money to nonprofit organizations, unlimited amounts of money, and you do not have to disclose who the donors are. And that's what we're referring to. Now, look, I may surprise you on this. I don't have a particular problem with it because it's legal and both sides do it. In fact, the Republicans excelled at it for a long time, right? But now, and the Democrats always bemoaned it, saying, oh, well, the rich billionaires are giving money to Republican candidates and causes. And that flipped in 2024. Now, Democrats in 2024 outspent Republicans 2-1, okay? They just figured out how to do it. Now, nothing to say Republicans can't do the same thing. They can't pay, I don't know, me, I'm just kidding, or influencers to promote talking points, just not doing it as effectively. So, look, do I have a particular problem? No. If you want to talk in context of total campaign finance reform, I'm open for that discussion. But right now, it's legal, and therefore I say Republicans, get your game on.
Well, I don't care if it's legal. I just think it's dishonest. I mean, giving money as a billionaire or anybody is one.
I'm with him on that. Republicans, get your game on. Send some money over to this channel because we're already pushing conservative talking points and plan to. I'm with it.
One thing, but it's the lack of transparency that I have issue with. The fact that you've got these influencers pretending they are invested in an issue, creating content, sharing it to their followers, when really they're just motivated by the paycheck. What they actually think, who knows? And I think that's that lack of transparency. There should be some sort of a disclosure if you're taking money to state a particular opinion. Now, we know the Democrats paid the likes of Oprah and Beyonce to be part of their campaign. Don't you think there should be a requirement that anyone being paid for a political endorsement at least declares it somewhere?
Yeah, look, that's a very fair argument, and one that I'm not unsympathetic to. Now, there are disclosure rules, and while you don't have to talk about who donated money to dark money, the people receiving money do depend. It's a very gray area. Legally, you do have to disclose certain things, but there are ways around it, and I'm sure.
All right, Bet. That's what I wanted for that segment, and I wanted it primarily. We covered it on last night's Sunday panel, but we've been saying this. A lot of what you were seeing on social media, especially when it came to leading up to the presidential election with Kamala, and you were being like, yo, how are these people backing these stupid policies? How do they not see what a train wreck this is? Because a lot of them were getting paid for their opinions. All right. I'm going to cover this one piece, and then I actually want to get to Kwame Kaiju sent me something on this new tax on tips. I want to cover that real quick, but let's knock this one segment out too so we can double down on a segment we did last night on this tea shooter in Minneapolis. how this is aside from a mental health issue, it's a public menace and a threat, a growing threat to society, with them being violent and unstable, etc. And Tito had called this months ago, to his credit. This is on Newsmax, and this is a big component that needs to be addressed about the Minneapolis trans tragedy. And that's the stuff Newsom passing laws to have them given to kids over in California. That's over in Quiet Storm's neck of the woods. That's why the mother lawyered up. She's dodging that smoke. Hell yeah. Spot on. That's the social engineering, bro. And this shit is blowing up in their faces. We covered it. Rosie O'Donnell had to give the apology. We covered that last night. She got caught spreading propaganda saying it was a MAGA supporter. That's the same thing they did with the shooter in Butler. You guys noticing the pattern yet? It's not a thing. They're manufactured. And when I say manufactured, you know what I mean.
Then, the subject of transgender kids has moved into the mainstream.
It was glorified.
Yeah. This is trying to normalize chomo. All right, bet. That's a wrap. Let's do what Kwame sent you. And it looks like let me see. Looks like Saul sent me a couple things too. Oh, we got something on Ketanji Brown Jackson. All right, bet. Let's knock this one out of here. And I'm going to take a look at this Ketanji Brown Jackson joint Saul sent me. So this one's Scott Bessent. Okay, Bessent visits restaurants in D.C. to highlight new no tax on tips policies. Let's take a look at this.
As President Trump focuses on expanding his crackdown on crime, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is highlighting a major provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill, visiting with restaurant workers on Labor Day.
Why am I sitting in a bar with the Treasury Secretary?
Well, it's Labor Day, and we're here to talk about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent visiting a handful of D.C. area restaurants to highlight the Big Beautiful Bill's provision eliminating taxes on certain tips. Bessent says the administration will be back at work this week, considering sanctions against Russia after Russian President Vladimir Putin failed to follow through on pledges he made during his meeting with President Trump last month in Alaska.
He has, in a despicable manner, increased the bombing campaign. So I think with President Trump, all options are on the table, and I think we'll be examining those very closely this week.
On trade negotiations with China, the secretary says the administration is in a very good place, and he anticipates meeting again with his Chinese counterparts in mid to late October. And following last week's appeals court decision ruling most of the administration tariffs illegal, Bessent argues the massive U.S. trade deficit is an emergency and says the Supreme Court will see it that way too.
We think we're going to win at the Supreme Court. We are close to a tipping point where we could have financial instability due to these large and persistent trade deficits. So we are trying to head off a crisis.
President Trump's Labor Day focus, crime, lauding the crackdown in Washington and looking to replicate it in Chicago. He posted, quote, "Wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of D.C. has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in D.C. In Chicago, the mayor is vowing to resist.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago."
The president says Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker had better straighten out crime or he's sending the federal government to Chicago. Pritzker says that he would welcome federal officials like the ATF or the FBI, but that he doesn't want the National Guard there. He also says the president is obsessed with Democratic cities. Jillian?
Right. Splitting your day today, Rich, between Martin's Tavern and the White House. It's a strong move. I also understand there's more criticism now at HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Over CDC moves. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and now over to the CDC. You've got 9 former CDC officials, those who led the agency in Democratic and Republican administrations, saying that what RFK Jr. is doing is endangering everyday Americans' lives. They said that what Kennedy is doing is culminating in his decision to fire Susan Menares as CDC director days ago is unlike anything we have ever seen at the agency and unlike anything our country has ever experienced. They accuse him.
Wow, they getting these DEI hires, and it's looking like most of them are women, out of here left and right, which actually is going to lead us up into into my next segment with Lisa Cook at the Fed chair. Boom, there you go right there. I was going to cover that tomorrow too. Lord of Brooklyn says 50 shot in Chicago during Labor Day weekend is defending Chicago. This man is a demagogue. He's not only a demagogue, he's actually, we talked about this last night, he's actually getting paid to destroy his city, take property away from black homeowners, and increase the murder rate. Because as all that Democratic funding comes in, he's funneling money to nonprofits, taking his cut off the top. He's a perfect Democratic shill. As you see what happened with Tiffany Hayard. I don't even think they could do anything to the to these mayors. But I mean, we'll see if anything can be investigated. But in any event, I'd still like to see a crackdown in Chicago, even with the National Guard, just to prove a point. As you can see, the rollout in DC got the numbers down significantly. You even have the DC mayor actually saying it's a success, if you can believe it or not. So I guess now that it's a numbers game, and it's a numbers game in public, I would say if Trump even deploys to Chicago and then they could do the numbers for 30 days and see, bro, and if it's like a 50 to 70 cent decrease, that's a public relations win in terms of the efficacy, and it will also show how inefficient these democratically run cities are. Mayor Brendan Johnson in particular. And I'm still of the opinion that he should be investigated. So this one is apparently an investigative reporter looked into Lisa Cook's background and qualifications. When I did the segment last week, I was saying how she's a DEI hire, and they needed Kamala Harris to break the tie to get her onto the board, and that politicized the Fed chair's board. We see how Powell's not lowering these interest rates. But when they were saying that she was an economist, but it was like economy of race and social economics, I was like, that's not a real economist. So they actually did some digging. And let's take a look at her background.
Is officially cooked. Independent investigative journalist Chris Brunet obtained Lisa Cook's 85-page tenure package via Freedom of Information Act. And boy, there were some bombshells in here. Let me give you some of the context. Before she was appointed to the Federal Reserve back in like 2022, Lisa Cook was a professor at Michigan State University, where she taught economics and international relations. No deliverables for either of those, by the way. Now, when Biden nominated her in 2022, there was a lot of pushback on her resume and how qualified she was as a professor, saying, quote, critics, including some in the Senate, say that she is not qualified for such an important job and has mischaracterized her economics experience. As a senior Republican Senate aide who requested anonymity because they are not authorized to speak on the Republican strategy, told the Daily Caller that Cook is one of the least qualified nominees in the Fed's history. The aide stressed that Cook's scholarship has no connection to monetary economics or the Fed's dual mandate.
That's what I was saying earlier. None of her background is with regard to monetary policy, which is one of the primary mandates of the Federal Reserve. I will tell you this. I'm glad to see these DEI hires being cast out in public, and the backgrounds being dragged through the public, showing that they actually were unqualified. As nasty as it is, that's the only way to stop this sort of thing happening in the future. And in addition, Black men were not the beneficiaries of any of this. And this whole most educated trope, et cetera, we're seeing this is like a nail in the coffin. It's showing that it was all propaganda. It was all a lie. So and so this is her, and we're gonna do Ketanji Brown Jackson next. Most of these things are not merit based.
Herself, quote, this is Cook, a macroeconomics or economist. She used her career to teach the, quote, intersectionality of Black people in the economy, whatever that means. But when people started looking,
I told you, that's what I said. Whatever that means, that's not. Yeah, let's just say, no monetary policy.
Into the self-proclaimed macroeconomist in 2022, reporters found out, namely my next guest, that her published work doesn't show any peer-reviewed macroeconomic publications. Well, the man who uncovered all this about Lisa Cook years ago, Chris Brunet, investigative journalist, and you have a Substack, which is fantastic. Dude, I'm looking at this stuff. I'm like, you found this out in 2022. Nobody really picked it up, and now it's all coming back up, and it's like, wow, how did she get there in the first place?
Right. Well, I have been on the Lisa Cook beat longer than literally any other reporter in the world. The reason is because before I worked as an investigative journalist, I worked as an economist. So like I was actually in the economics world, and I spoke to economists, and I knew what economists thought of her. And the general opinion in the profession was that she was a fraud, she was an intellectual lightweight, and she was the DEI charity case. So that's really what started me digging around into her record back in 2022. Nobody really cared at the time, even though there was a Senate Banking Committee, but it was mostly just me looking around. And eventually I obtained the 85-page document that proves what I was saying all along, that she's not qualified even by the standards of her own department.
Right. Well, that was actually, you published all these documents just openly. And I want to point people to the page on your Substack where they can find this stuff later. But you said that Michigan State's Economics Department likely voted against tenure, but they were overturned by the dean. You said in a lengthy piece that she was not even good enough to be tenured at Michigan based on merit, yet somehow she's Fed board member material?
Right. That's kind of the whole problem with her not being qualified. If she were an Asian man.
Yo, this is why you gotta love the internet. And I'm doing this segment just for the public record. We not hating. We got the receipts. Keisha not qualified.
She got your ass.
And for example, she would not have received tenure at a top 200 or top 300 school. But because she's a Black woman, she received tenure at a top 30 school, which is Michigan State University. And the reason she even got tenure at Michigan State in the first place, as my documents show, is that her own department voted against granting her tenure. They checked a box that says "do not reappoint" by the department chair, but that "do not reappoint" recommendation was overruled by the dean of the College of Social Science due to DEI reasons.
I mean, she doesn't exactly look. I mean, like her tenure packet lists her economic review papers and proceedings as like with an asterisk indicating that it's peer reviewed, but she was lying. I mean, lying about having something peer reviewed is worse than plagiarism.
Right. This is a trend that I've seen with Lisa Cook. Throughout her entire career, she lies on her resume to make it look better because it's so thin. And so that was one example. She portrayed her American Economic Review paper as peer-reviewed when really it was just a short policy paper that wasn't peer-reviewed.
Right.
And she explicitly said it was peer-reviewed. And when she was nominated in 2022, she edited her own website to remove the words peer-reviewed from it because she knew there would be scrutiny. But the Wayback Machine shows that for years, her website said this is a peer-reviewed paper.
He loves the
bang. Ha ha.
She got your ass.
And I'm doing that one for the public record. That's Lisa Cook, because you know what we do down in the space. All this DEI, all this Keisha, the most educated. Us debunking that propaganda point is important, not because of hate, but because it's been used as a political bludgeon against the men. Saul sent me this one. He actually sent me this one actually right before the stream. So that's Lisa Cook. Ketanji Brown Jackson, another on the Supreme Court, another Biden appointee. Another Biden appointee. She did the same thing as a girl from Harvard. Spot on. Me and Saul were led the pack with that dean of Harvard, or with the president of Harvard, getting her up out of here. Oh, what we got here? International Quiet Storm with the $10 super chat. He said, tip the news anchor. I can finally super chat or the laptop #1 again. She got your ass.
She got your ass.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the prettiest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this town?
Sure enough.
Well, who am I?
Sure enough.
Who am I?
Sure enough.
I can't hear you.
Sure enough.
A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of donglode. A massive gizzard has buried Kamlambus in 2 feet of donglode. Locals blame the lack of preparation on Mayor Linda P. Slurp.
The city of Columbus is reeling today after an unprecedented event. What officials are calling a gizzard has left downtown streets.
Yo, congratulations to Storm too, by the way. I dropped a congratulations in your WhatsApp earlier, bro. That PCA is a big deal, bro. Yeah, man, congratulations on that. Let's give our boy, let's give Storm passing the PCA. That is Professional Cloud Architect on the Google platform.
We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more pricey games coming up in the second half of the show. Don't go away, folks. We got more pricey games coming up.
All right, bet. Let's do for the public record another DEI Biden appointee. This is Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, who is shown to be most recently to be intellectually lacking. Let's get into it.
It is unnecessary to consider whether Congress has constrained the judiciary. What matters is how the judiciary may constrain the executive. Justice Jackson would do well to heed her own admonition.
A few moments later.
The game appeared in a Supreme Court opinion Thursday when Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson accused her colleagues of Calvin Ball jurisprudence with a twist. Listen, y'all, in a solo opinion. So she's the only one on. It's very common that an opinion will have 2, 3, 4, 5 people on it. This is all she all by her lonesome on this opinion, y'all. And we're back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, my people. You know that it helps us out a ton. And of course, it helps you because it helps us keep bringing you these stories every day. Now, y'all, today we're going to be talking about your girl. She's not somebody we normally talk about, but there's an interesting story happening with Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. See, y'all, she has found herself, this is my opinion, she has kind of found herself on the outskirts of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is comprised of 9 individuals. Now we have a pretty diverse Supreme Court with people who are
and we're doing these for the public record because exactly, Quiet Storm, she never answered the question definition of a woman. I coined the phrase the Keisha Industrial Complex. Do you see how quickly the Keisha power structure is falling apart? And we're seeing it from the top, like the ones in high positions, and we're seeing it crumble from the top. We already knew the lower level Keisha was falling apart, you know, Section 8 and everything. But you see how quickly when the subsidies from the Keisha Industrial Complex get pulled back, how no matter how high up the Keisha is, how rapidly they disintegrate and fall and fall from grace in the public eye. Without the paid cheerleaders and everything else, how they can't stand on their own. Now there were Keishas prior to, like take a Condoleezza Rice. Whatever you think about her politics, extremely capable, extremely intelligent, extremely competent. That is not the norm. This is a Supreme Court justice publicly, in her own writings and her own dissents, being shown to be an intellectual midget based on her peers. And now, mind you, Sotomayor, I'm not a fan of hers either. I don't think that she's a heavyweight either. Not by any stretch of the imagination. She's a Obama appointee. And she's the first Latino woman, Hispanic woman appointed to the bench. So just on perception right there, on what it looks like. So the first Keisha appointed after the first Latina, and the Latina is, like I said, she's no intellectual heavyweight either. But the Keisha doesn't even compare to the Latina first woman. It's a bad look, bro.
This gender and that, who are of all different kind of races. We have some older members, we have some younger members, and I would say out of everybody, your girl Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson seems to find herself I don't know if I want to say marginalized, but she seems to find herself out there dissenting all by her lonesome sometimes, and it's causing people to start wondering, hey, what's going on with your girl? So today we're going to take a look at her most recent dissent, and she actually criticized, nay, slammed. I would say she slammed the Supreme Court. Now, y'all have to, this is not social media, so she's not going to go in, with all kinds of expletives and things, but she slammed the court, y'all. And we're going to take a look at that, and we're going to take a look at the case that caused her to slam the court. And spoiler alert, it is a DEI related case. Now, y'all know I don't go off into them waters. I don't swim in them waters a lot. But we'll make an exception today because hey, that's what the case is about. So y'all, we're gonna go ahead and hop right into it. First, I'm gonna shoot into a quick news clip that's going to tell you about the case because you need to know what the case is about. And then we're going to get into why Ketanji Brown Jackson accused the Supreme Court of playing Calvin ball. Now, y'all are going to be like, what the heck is Calvin ball? I'm going to explain it to you. It's actually a criticism of the Supreme Court, kind of a harsh criticism. I'll explain that to you. But first, let's go ahead and hop into this news report so you can know what this case was all about. But before we do, y'all, make sure you take care of your money. I'm not going to make this a long one, y'all. Go to So there you see it. The Supreme Court is deciding while there are court cases going forward about Donald Trump's administration cutting funding to DEI-related programs in the National Institutes of Health. So he's like, DEI? No. And so he's cutting it, right? And so in the meantime, while those court cases go forward, there's another part of the case saying, okay, you're cutting the funding, but the courts haven't decided whether that cut is legal or not. So we want to keep the money while the court cases go forward. And the Trump administration is like, no, while the court cases go forward to see if these cuts are cool or not, we don't want y'all to keep the money. So that's what the Supreme Court is deciding here. So the Supreme Court said that the Trump administration can cut the funds while this whole thing plays out. And Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson says, hey, man, she's talking to her own people, to the court of which she is a member. Hey, man, y'all are playing Calvin ball. Now, first of all, let's talk about what is Calvin ball, okay? Because I never had heard about this. Let's look at this article on MSNBC. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to explain to us what Calvin ball is. The newspaper comic strip Calvin and Hobbes had a fictional game called Calvin Ball, the rules of which are made up, as in invented, just made up on the spot, and constantly changing. The only fixed rule is that you can't play it the same way twice. The game appeared in a Supreme Court opinion Thursday when Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson accused her colleagues of Calvin ball jurisprudence with a twist. Listen, y'all, in a solo opinion. So she's the only one on. It's very common that an opinion will have 2, 3, 4, 5 people on it. This is all, she all by her lonesome on this opinion, y'all. That's what I was telling you earlier. Like, she's kind of like on the outskirts. In a solo opinion on the Trump administration's quest to cut NIH research grants, she wrote that in the court's version of Calvin ball, this administration always wins. That's a complaint, y'all. She's complaining. Okay, she's complaining. It's a remarkable statement from a sitting Supreme Court justice. She was clear to specify this administration, and not the first time she has struck out on her own to publicly address her colleagues in stark terms. So, y'all, this is exactly what I was saying. She's been going out on her own. She's been on the outskirts of the Supreme Court, and it looks like
she going full-blown Keisha on the Supreme Court. I do what I want. I do what I want. I don't care what the law say. I do what I want. Yo, she go full-blown Keisha on the Supreme Court.
The Trump administration is the primary reason. Now, this is the kicker, y'all. Pay very close attention to why I am saying that she is like out.
Yo, Theo Watt for the building. What up, Playboy? Oh, you in Miami? Yo, I dropped some Warhammer lure channels in your messenger, so you get the backstory on everything. Theo Watt for the building. Manosphere Conclave, all that going down on the 7th. Man. Yo, if you missed it, you missed it. I'm going there. I'll be attending the class virtually. Theo Watt in the building.
Riker, my good fortune is your good fortune.
I don't need your fantasy women.
Oh, you're so stolid. You weren't like that before the beard. Very well.
Off by a stop.
All right, guys, let's get back to roasting this DEI Keisha on the Supreme Court.
Like she's on the outskirts on her own. Listen to this very closely. Jackson is one of 3 Democratic appointees on the court, along with 6 Republican appointees. So if there are 2 more Democrats and she's number 3, why would she be out on her own? Why wouldn't they stick together? This was the latest example of Obama appointees Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, 2 other women appointees, by the way, declining to sign on to some of Jackson's strongest language. In her solo effort, Jackson described the NIH case as the newest entry in the court's quest to make the way for the executive branch. She says it's one that has real consequences for the law and for the public, and she expressed the hope that affected grant recipients can find a way to maintain research studies and their legal claims long enough to give the court the chance to change its mind. So you can see 2 other, people like to play these demographic games, okay? 2 other Democrats, they also happen to be women. They aren't even rocking with much of what Justice Brown Jackson is saying. So that's why I say she's out there all by her lonesome. Now, y'all, this isn't the first time, and there are other situations where she has been out there all by her lonesome. And in fact, she went hard on the court, and they kind of go back hard on her. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you another situation where she was out there all by her lonesome, so that you can get a sense that I don't know. You wonder if her legitimacy might be called into question here. I mean, that is the implication that a lot of people are having right now. And it's interesting, I'm not even going to go there. Let me not even go there. Let's take a look at this other situation where Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was out all by her lonesome, throwing shade at them. They throwing shade at her, and her very legitimacy as a Supreme Court justice is called into question.
Now, y'all, your girl, you got a new girl. Let's just say Ketanji, Justice Ketanji of the Supreme Court. She's not having such a good go of it right now, y'all. She's not having such a good go of it. Not only is she in the minority according to political ideology, but she's also seeming to be more and more sidelined by her fellow justices, even her fellow woman justices, which is really interesting to see. So you may have seen how, I believe it was last week, Justice Amy Coney Barrett went in on your girl. Now, first, I'm going to run a quick news piece about it, but the news piece doesn't get into what I'm going to read afterwards. So watch the news piece first, and then I'm going to come back and read from what you're seeing on your screen, which is actually even worse than what they talk about in the news piece. So let's take a look.
They don't need the permission of every district court judge to implement their agenda.
There was a kind of a fascinating smackdown among justices on the court regarding this ruling. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson had this to say regarding the opinion. Our rights-based legal system can only function properly if the executive and everyone else is always bound by law. Allowing the executive to violate the law carves out a huge exception, a gash in the basic tenets of our founding charter that could turn out to be a mortal wound. Requiring courts to provide the dagger makes a mockery of the judiciary. Well, Justice Barrett, Amy Coney Barrett, then issued her own rebuttal to that. She writes, "It is unnecessary to consider whether Congress has constrained the judiciary. What matters is how the judiciary may constrain the executive. Justice Jackson would do well to heed her own admonition. Everyone from the president on down is bound by law. That goes for judges too." Would have been some interesting times during the discussion of this case, don't you imagine?
Yes, these are pretty strong words for judicial opinions. I mean, this is the equivalent of sort of the WWE of judicial opinions, but it really shows that not only Justice Barrett, but all 5 of the other conservative judges signed on to her opinion. So they basically endorse what she said, which is really, they don't have a whole lot of respect for justice.
All right, but
we're going to take a look at.
We actually covered that dissenting opinion. And this is one is from the Paralegal Institute. Saul sent me that one. All right, see y'all rolling in. He said, "What the Star Trek never gets old." Yeah. Yo, what up, Aaron? I see you renewed your channel membership, man. Appreciate you. Storm said, "Yeah, they squabbling out here. Yeah, they squabbling out here."
She got your ass.
All right, Beth. So we did Lisa Cook. We're about an hour in. Let's I got on here late because I was watching Marcus's stream. He did a good stream. But I wanted to come and get my reps in. So let's do this by the numbers segment. This is our guy Mark. I want to do our guy Mark over at Rasmussen. We started last week on that the longer stream with him going through a huge set of numbers, but I'm gonna do a short segment tonight. This is from his recent upload based on a data set, and this is what I like about Mark. We know Mark leans right. Mark leans right, and he's a Trump supporter. But I like that Mark just does the numbers. If the numbers don't, Phil said, Strag member impeacher. Oh man. If the numbers, he just reads the numbers. So if they don't look like they're favoring Trump or anything regarding the agenda or the policy initiatives, he just reads them like they are. So this one is get real Republicans think they've won Gen Z, but they're missing something. So and this one doesn't have a lot of charting, but he's talking over the way some of the numbers are looking coming in. Now bear in mind we've seen the redistricting, gerrymandering, redistricting, some of the map redrawing by the Republicans. We know that the Democratic fundraising at is an all-time low. We're watching the party cannibalize itself, that they don't have a real definitive strong leader. They're doubling down on policy initiatives that were a disaster for them this previous election. Nonetheless, I like this idea of that being the case, but trusting the numbers as they're coming in with proper polling and basically not getting comfortable and adjusting strategies as such. So this is more of an analysis commentary. And this is Mark Mitchell over at Rasmussen Reports. He's the lead pollster.
Administration manipulated intel to create the Russian collusion hoax. Should they be arrested? 57%.
All right, let's run it back.
Now we asked people, well, hey, people in the Obama administration manipulated intel to create the Russian collusion hoax. Should they be arrested? 57% say yes. We just told people about debanking and asked people, well, should the FBI investigate whether banks violated federal law by practice of debanking? 63% say yes. So we've seen this number over and over again, this like roughly mid-60s number, who say, no, I don't like this. Now, the problem Trump is having is that what people learned under the Biden administration is that government can be corrupted and weaponized. And so just because Trump's in charge now doesn't mean that they're completely going to change their opinions about that.
Mark, why don't you just, you led off with some great headlines while we were chatting. And so why don't you just tee up the latest you got, and then I'll ask you a couple questions when you're done.
Well, I'm never a cheerleader. I'm here to give people the cold, hard facts. And the cold, hard facts is Trump's racking up wins, but we are not out of the woods yet. The Republicans are in a really bad spot. Now, you've probably heard a lot of really good headlines about the future of the Democrat Party, about how their brand is in the tank, about how over the long term they're going to hemorrhage electoral votes as the 2030 census catches up with all of the movements that happened post-COVID, how we might fix the 2020 census, and that might give another 15 seats back to the Republicans, and also all this redistricting stuff. Now, that's all correct, but the problem is that Trump still has to have the Republicans win November of 2026. And, you know, the bad news is that every single major pollster right now has the Democrat Party picking up seats in the House and most likely winning the majority. And that brings us to a very inconvenient and uncomfortable public opinion fact, which is that Donald Trump might get all of these wins, but he can't pick and choose what he gets credit for. And so this summer, he got his signature legislation signed, the One Big Beautiful Bill. He took out Iran's nuclear program and he got all of these trade deals. But his numbers between the middle of June and the middle of July tanked from approval rating of net +8 down to net -4. And he's at net -2 today. So he hasn't really recovered. And the biggest thing that I can come up with is, well, maybe people didn't like the One Big Beautiful Bill because the messaging kind of stunk, or maybe people were upset about the fact that we were getting involved with stuff with Israel. But probably the biggest one is the Epstein thing. And I've lost a ton of followers calling Trump out for the way he handled that, because it was kind of a canary in the coal mine that maybe we aren't getting the massive redress of voters' grievances that we thought we were going to get with Trump. And so maybe, again, he won't get credit for all these wins. Now, I think his numbers are going to recover, but the problem is that objectively, if you look at the 119th Congress, Republicans are giving us absolutely nothing. They made a lot of really major promises back in November. The stuff that Mike Johnson was saying on the steps of Congress on November 12th about how he was going to hang an America First banner over Congress. And our list of legislation is essentially the One Big Beautiful Bill, and that's about it. They have 50 legislative days left in this year. And it looks like if Trump wants to win, he's got to rely on places like Texas to redistrict. And it looks like he's taking matters into his own hands. He's going to pick people who he thinks are critical to maintain the majority and go, campaign on the stump for them. And he looks like he's going to have a new RNC in advance of the 2026 election. I don't know if that's going to be enough, because only 38% of Trump 2024 voters give Republicans in Congress a very favorable rating. That's horrible. And so Trump got all of these crossover Democrats. He got all these independents, and the Republicans have not converted those votes.
Yep. Mark, right back after the break with Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen, giving the straight reporting, a few questions positive after.
Yeah, that's why I'm playing this segment. So, let's not celebrate too early. Yeah, Crockett got redistricted out of her seat, but she's more of a nuisance than anything. The midterms might actually still be tight. We'll see how these swing voters go. But let's watch a little bit more of this. Let's go.
People think that it's not very likely that there will be criminal accountability. Every time we've asked, the number's in the mid-40s roughly, but people do want criminal accountability. We've asked this question multiple ways. And I think one of the key things that we learned from this election was that this wasn't necessarily about people loving Trump. It was about a referendum on the failure of government trust, because only 30% trusted the federal government. Now, we asked people, well, hey, people in the Obama administration manipulated intel to create the Russian collusion hoax. Should they be arrested? 57% say yes. We just told people about debanking and asked people, well, should the FBI investigate?
Yeah, I keep saying this, man. People want to see somebody go to jail. Trump's got to lock somebody up to shore up public opinion and stuff like that. Somebody's got to go to jail, which is a good thing that's the way the public is, public sentiment is, and that's tied to his approval numbers. But yeah, he's got to lock somebody up.
Whether banks violated federal law by practice of debanking. 63% say yes. So we've seen this number over and over again, this roughly mid-60s number, who say, no, I don't like this. Now, the problem Trump is having is that what people learned under the Biden administration is that government can be corrupted and weaponized. And so just because Trump's in charge now doesn't mean that they're completely going to change their opinions about that. So we just asked about the John Bolton raid, and people say, well, 48% of them say, yeah, it's actually probably Trump getting revenge, and only 38% say it's about national security. So until they see major accountability, and I don't know what that looks like, probably a ton of arrests, but probably a ton of people getting fired, they're not necessarily going to change their minds about this. They still don't trust the federal government.
Right. No, I buy that. I think you're spot on. In closing, give us 1 minute, anything you got on artificial intelligence. thumbs up or thumbs down for the American people, concerns, what scares them. The MIT report came out last week saying only 5% of firms have embedded AI, generative AI into their business systems. And so whatever you got, people are fascinated with this stuff.
It's definitely going to change America.
Guys, you heard that 5%. So for all my guys at the conclave, this is Theo's teaching this AI class and cloud computer. Bro, you guys are in the right place. 5% conversion in U.S. companies. Man, if this ain't a blue ocean, we're looking at a $1 billion industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, possible $1 trillion industry. We're in the AI arms race with China. Everybody that survives Theo and gets these certs, man, sky's the limit for you, man. Quiet Storm, once again, congratulations, just passed his PCA, and he said he already getting pings on LinkedIn since he got it posted. Motivation for me too, man. Everybody got to double down.
In a way we don't know yet. And I can say that people are somewhat concerned. We have 70% of people who are concerned about AI. Only 42% think that it will be used to control them, though. 33% say empower. But the big problem here is everybody says that the 18 to 29-year-olds, the young people, are moving to the right. And that's not really true. They're actually just super economic populist. And the thing that concerns me is that they are super quick to drop.
That's a very good point. He identified them as being super economic populists as opposed to actually moving to the right. I consistently be making the argument that Trump is a populist president. So yeah, that's a very good observation on Mark's point. But I think that speaks to the level of question breakdown that they're sending out in their polling.
All pretenses of conservatism when faced with, we have this question here. If AI eliminates millions of jobs, would you support or oppose a law to redistribute income and provide Americans with basically UBI? And 65% of people under 30 support that. And we have polling in the field that's going to be really eye-opening about how many of them support income caps, support wealth redistribution. So this is people that Republicans are patting themselves on the back and say, oh, look, the young ones are getting more conservative. No, the young ones are sick of being robbed by the uniparty cabal, and they want accountability. And so we need to see it.
Yep. All right, brother. Mark Mitchell, I'm going to get you on more and more and more. You're always spot on. Thanks for the analysis. I'll give you a bit of good news in the Hill.
Bet. So that's our bottom number segment for the night. That was a quickie. I had to get in here. It was already after midnight, but I went on late. Because Marcus was had an extended stream. Good stream. That's my time for the evening. For this evening, I'll be back tomorrow regular time, somewhere around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But they're taking it easy since my birthday on Friday. We're back in business this week. News Desk regular time, and we'll have News Desk Thursday too, because there's no sit down with Obsidian this Thursday because the conclave will be in full effect. So that it's looking like you're probably getting 5 or 6 days of News Desk this week. Man, I want to thank all you guys for coming out, hanging out with me at this at least on the Eastern EST ridiculous time slot, third shift as it were. Everybody out there on the West Coast is probably not as bad. That being said, man, I'm gonna see you guys. Let me see what we got in the chat. Good night, good night, and good luck. That's Edward R. Murrow. I took that from him. One of the original, real old school journalists. Walter Cronkite, all of the greats come after him. Edward R. Murrow. That's where I get that from. That's an ode to when the last of the late great real investigative journalists, people who actually gave you the news, just the facts, and they were honest brokers with regard to their opinion pieces. We need to bring real journalism back. Doing my piece for Truth and Justice over here with the News Desk. That being said, as Quiet Storm just said, I want to say good night and good luck.
In a shocking development, the federal government says being broke is allowed, but if you're broke and glowing, you are officially now a suspect.
You can't be glowing more than your financial status. Look your problem.
In a shocking development.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it.
Panel. This country needs stronger border security. Our border security is the strongest in the world.
What we need is to take care of our children.
I can't get an erection. You think giving them amnesty is fair to the people who are already here? They're contributing to the economy. I've tried all the herbs. Amnesty is never the answer. It's not amnesty. It's recognizing their contributions to our country. They said to meditate, but I keep falling asleep. We need stronger vetting.
And to enforce the laws already on the books.
I'm terrified of being alone with my wife. It's too much pressure. Well, nothing's ever going to change if Congress isn't willing to compromise. Exactly my point.
A wall would solve this.
I wake up with an erection, but never when she's in the bed with me. A wall would solve nothing.
These children have rights.
I spent $3 grand on a sandals vacation thinking that might do it. Know what it was? Me being limp on a lazy river.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you to Peter Griffin.
No, don't send me home to my wife.
Democrat.
Sorry.
Hey, where's Stewie? That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter.
There it is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean, to play us out? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today, and we'll leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it, and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Stewie Griffin. Thanks for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.